The very first portion of the warrior ethos that I wanted to go over with you guys. Have you ever met some, you see these UFC fighters sometimes, they talk a big game, they got a big mouth and a big ego. You see Conor McGregor talking shit. It's psychology is what it is, it's sports psychology, and this is a warrior philosophy. And each one of you will adopt this warrior philosophy to you for your own good. You'll take what works for you, throw out what doesn't, like Bruce Lee's philosophy, right? Take what works for you, discard the rest, and eventually make it your own. All these techniques and stuff, these are my interpretation of the martial arts that I was shown from other instructors of mine. Same thing with my warrior philosophy. But the very first thing of the warrior philosophy is be bigger than your problems. Be meaner than your problems. What I mean by this is, if you know you're about to fight, like if I know next month I'm gonna fight a UFC black belt. UFC. I'm not fighting UFC. If I did, I'd be fighting in the UFC. I'm not that good. I'm good enough. Damn good, but I'm not fighting in the UFC. But I'll be damned if I tell that publicly. Publicly, I'm gonna eat his children. Right? I'm gonna fuck him up. I might not, but I'm not going to let anybody know that. That's a warrior philosophy. There's a quick story that I'll tell about a samurai, like real samurai, lived up until like 10 years ago. This real samurais. I think there's one left. And they went out to eat. They were with some famous people, and there was a situation where one of his disciples was at the sushi restaurant, and there was a hot pepper. And his student mentioned how hot the pepper was. And I forget what happened exactly, but he passed on the pepper. But the samurai was almost a little offended. So it was his disciple. And he said, no, you, in his Japanese, you could probably say, I don't know how to say that stuff. Yes. He was basically telling him, eat the fucking pepper is what he said. And guess what the student did? Senpai fucking complied. He ate the pepper. And he knew what he knew where he messed up. His messing up was showing the weakness in front of his sensei. That's all it was. He was saving face in front of it. He's at a restaurant. The samurai, saving face. He told his disciple, eat it. And his disciple knew exactly what he meant. He meant, eat it because you messed up and showed your weakness. And the samurai also, the neat thing was, the samurai also ate the pepper right alongside of him. Ate it, made no facial expressions or anything, and that saved face. The point is, we're going to go up against things sometimes, and in a Stoic philosophy, we want to go into the fire. The problems are the path. The challenging portion is the path. I guess what I'm trying to say is be bigger and harder than your problems, even if you're just pretending. There's times I want to give up. There's times in here I act way more of a hard ass than I really am. Because I want you to embody that spirit. I want you to embody that energy of os. And that's what os means. Os means to endure. It's a Japanese slang word. You would say it to an elderly person, but in a karate studio that's like Kyokushin, it's os. It's an affirmation. It's a I understand. It's a I will continue to endure. And that goes through Greek philosophy, Japanese philosophy. You will see it in every warrior culture. Be bigger and meaner than the problems you face, even if you don't really believe it right off the bat. Has anybody can think of anything within the last 24 hours where they could have had a little bit more of that spirit and things may have gone a little bit differently? Can you guys think of anything? You don't need to tell it. If you want to share it, you can. If you don't want to share it, you don't have to. Or if you have anything to add on to it. I look at you guys as all leaders. I'm waxing poetically up here to try to inspire. That's all I'm trying to do. But I know every one of you guys have something you can share to this. You don't have to. But if you can think of one time in the last 24 to 48 hours where you could have embodied a little bit more os, because that'll inspire other people. I do things like this now. Like I didn't have coffee for a few days. It sucked. I cheated and had a Red Bull. Not good. But I'm doing those things when I'm aware of them that I hate to do. Like if I find myself like, oh, I don't know what I said it the other day. I was talking about coffee, right? I'm like, I don't know what to do if I couldn't have my coffee. And I went, fuck, because I heard myself say it. I heard my higher self go, oh yeah? Oh yeah, you can't have your coffee, huh, you little weak ass? And I went, I knew what I needed to do. I knew I needed to push myself and try to go without caffeine. And I did. all I did, the Red Bull. But then the next day I didn't have any. Be bigger. The first part of this whole message, and this is the last thing, I don't mean to have wax, but I have a fucking sermon over this. But all I want you to do is be bigger than your problems. That's the warrior code right then and there. And then next time we're going to talk about you being the weapon. But right now, just this right now is very important. Because if you can take this for the next 24 to 48 hours with you out there, this is where you'll learn little things like this. Out there's your real dojo. It doesn't make a shit bit of difference how I talk about it here unless you're working it out there. All right. So does anybody else have anything to add to that? If not, let's kick some shit. Let's do it. All right, let's get back with our pads real quick. I'm going to show you a different style of kicking and punching. It's one that, if you're a level 2, you've seen this before, but I want you to get really good at it. So we scoop the hand out of the way before we throw the kick. We're going to do some trick stuff here in just a second. All right, grab your partners. Go. Let's do it. I'm going to have Ryan and Joe together, if you would. I'm going to have, you and I are going to work together. I'm going to have, actually I'm going to have you two work together. You two work together just for a moment, if I may. And this is what we're going to do. Scoop it out of the way. Hit. Let's just fire one right to the jaw at the very end. Just for fun. You guys can do that. And you need to kick to the leg too. This one's a good one for kicking to the leg. So the leg would be inside. And you can do your jam here if you're going to do the inside of the leg. 1, 2, jam it. Smash. You can lean into it here. You can jam it here. It's up to you. Depends on where they hold their hand. Get ready for it. All right, here we go, guys. 1, 2, 3.